Hey everybody, Everett's live music. Another shout out. I'm coming up on the 4th of July still. It's the 3rd. Day before, maybe I'll do another one, I don't know. But I've talked about a lot of stuff since back on Earth Day in and around that area of time, back in April and through Memorial Day, and many subject matter I've touched on. Remember, I'm not a specialist I'm a citizen of the United States of America. And I study water a little bit, and I work with water, fire hydrants, backflows, contractor, and I dive into my education a little bit. I try to stay up with the current itinerary and advancements and different matter that applies to that field as best I can. And I kind of like the private sector because of just the way things have gone. For everybody, it's going to be different. It's a tough road by yourself a lot of the time. But anyways, there are those freedoms that come with it. But then there's the other stuff that comes with it too. In any event, a little bit about me, and then my stuff I've laid out up to this date. Even got a couple jokes in there and stuff, and some humor. And take it for what it is. If you don't like it, turn it off. Comment, say something back. Like, we're moving into the 4th of July right now, and maybe some of these are like rants. I don't care. I'm not a Debbie Downer. I try to feel like to be a realist and try to get us to talk. And get us to talk without feeling that somebody's totally going to be right when you're done. But just the ideas of it all, it's Independence Day and coming tomorrow, and what it means to have freedom and independence. A lot of that's sometimes argued one way or another, but it's a way of life we have here. I think it's pretty damn good, but we got to stick together and not be so easily misled. I think sometimes, I'm not saying everybody's misled, but at times I think we are, when you think of like maybe foreign relations at times and some of the stuff happening around the globe in different matter. I see in the paper today there's some article, I didn't even read it, but like Wimbledon doesn't believe that Russians should be left out of the sporting event, the Wimbledon, and I couldn't agree more. Sometimes I think they're a little higher up there, especially in some of the foreign countries. I'd imagine some of the athletes are actually thought of as being the next level of intelligence, even perhaps. For some, you're actually going to have to be pretty smart to be pretty good sometimes. It's not always that way, but for us on our level of all of us is the people of the countries that we seem to have problems with at times. They are people, like a lot of us. And if you like, I've shown behind me a little bit. You can just see I'm not really well off or anything. And whether these go anywhere, these shout outs and my music gets listened to or not, the idea is to not be so easily misled into believing that other people are the problem. And it's not just the politicians, but a heavy load of it is going to fall right there. It's something that has happened for a very long time. And it keeps happening. And I don't know if it'll ever change. I'm not sure. Because we follow the dollar, and that's where we've placed probably the greatest value on the planet. That seems to be able to compensate for anything. I would argue that in a lot of societies and a lot of different cultures, they would like to argue too that is not what rules them, but in the end it kind of is. So if we were to speak perhaps about the way we feel about one another, try not to, and sometimes it's unescapable. I don't know if it's unescapable or it just happens that way sometimes, and some of the people are going to stick together with others and in different events. But if we can ever get to a page where we're talking about it and just being cool about that idea that they are following what happens there, and a lot of them are trying to get here because To one degree or another, it's easier, but eventually this will be full in the United States to one degree or another. I'm not certain about it, but here, it's funny, dude, because 4th of July comes, right? Well, lo and behold, everything in the United States, not everything, but there is so much, man. It's got to be like probably above 85% of the items are made in China or somewhere in some Indonesian or Asian, Vietnam, something like that. A lot of them are, but that industry, and we buy from countries that we know are not following some of the same rules as everybody else as far as labor and all that stuff. And sometimes we impose sanctions, but it's just the idea, man, that we're celebrating 4th of July, and it's not our people that sold the industries out. It's our own governments and some of the rich people, man. I don't know how that ever changes. I heard Obama one time, he says, the industry's kind of been lost, and I don't think it's ever coming back. We owe China a lot of money. We will pay our bill, and we will continue on with our best way of developing a future, and perhaps that would include some new industry here. But then you hear Trump talk, and Trump says we're going to bring it all back. I don't know exactly how all that happens because I don't study it. My greatest thing is, why have we placed the dollar in front of everything else in life, for one? And an economist probably could explain some of that more to you, but I think they're going to get lost at one point or another. And what you have to admit is we've sold our own people out. At times, it happens on large scales. It happens on small scales. I mean, and the thing is almost like, okay, so if everything's made in China and we're still buying it, are we paying back our bill? If so, how much? So these conversations would be funny, but even the fireworks, man, will be setting off. They're made in China. So it is kind of funny, and I love our country. I love our people. I love that all of us don't always have all the answers. I think we'd have more answers the more time we find these conversations not to be so threatening to one another, and understanding that no matter what happens on Capitol Hill and stuff, it's what we do that is a big difference maker. And I wonder with the technology the way it is now, and the cell phones and all that stuff, I'd imagine someday like us just like, no, we're not going to do anything today. Everybody's sitting down until you stop doing what you're doing, or I've yet to see that. I mean, I see the riots and stuff sometimes, and I touched on the other day, like here in the Vegas Valley, you're going to see through the 4th. Don't ever forget this. If you get a chance, you go up to the top of the hill and you look over the valley, because everybody's allowed to have fireworks, so it looks like it's going off everywhere. And then like at a hotel or something, there'll be a large explosion. Boom, 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 boom. And that's like where the major conflict's taking place. But all over the valley's on fire, and everything's in total chaos, and it probably looks like that in some countries sometimes. We should never forget that. I teased about Pahrump. Only being like Korea, because North Korea, man, you're still building all these nukes, dude, and I don't think that Pahrump's doing that, but they get to have these bigger fireworks. They get to have big ones. I'm sure they got one that's called the nuke. You send it up into the sky, it's shot out of a mortar round, and boom, and I think it's all beautiful. I've had some of the greatest displays. I've been there. I've been laid on a boat, man, right underneath 2 barges shooting them off in Lake Tahoe. It was the biggest display that year, this side of the Mississippi, and I was there on a boat. All day long. So I've had some of the best celebrations for this day, and man, I love us, and there's just that awareness, and just there's no going back. There's only going forward, and then us talking and deciding how it's going to work out best, and then understanding it's not everyone sometimes that made the problem, from other places too, but talking about it, finding out more about it. I don't know. And wanting less, maybe, than what we want all the time. I mean, we want quite a bit, but just pretty wild, man. Some of the ideas and what you see day to day, and So I hope you have a really good, fun, safe holiday, man. And it's awesome. This is my fireworks, I guess, because I've been trying from like the Earth Days and stuff back in April. You know, I was trying to work up for. This is like my rant this year. I don't do this all the time, and I think it falls on deaf ears a lot of the time, and sometimes not. I don't have a lot of viewers. If you see it, you like it, say so. If you don't, say you don't like it. But hey, man, have fun. Be good to one another. Be safe. You know, for those that are, you know, like when you're at their place, dude, respect. You know, and when you start a problem and you start the trouble, man, everybody feels it. On the big weekends and stuff, you know, at a big place filled, man, you gotta be able to walk away and stuff. So be cool to one another and jam, dude, party and love one another. Like